This is the Spirit and Wellness Show. News and information from a higher perspective. With your host, Harry Wilkinson.
Yes, hello, this is your host, Harry Wilkinson, and welcome to the Spirit and Wellness Show. This is the show where we take a look at the days and weeks events, breakthroughs in the world of science, technology, current events, politics. We look at it all, and we take a look at it from a higher perspective. We take a look at it from a spiritual perspective, knowing that we create this all, and we create everything that we experience for a reason, and that reason is for us to more fully connect to the truth of who and what we really are, which is, in essence, for lack of a better term, divine mind. We are all connected at a very, at both a high level and at the lowest level. And we're going to talk quite a bit about that, because we're going to be talking about something called the 0-point field, which is gaining more discussion now that, as I mentioned in last week's show, that we have verified the existence of the quote-unquote God particle, the Higgs boson particle, which basically is this field that turns potential energy into matter. And 0-point field is basically that field that it's postulated the Higgs boson particle is part of. But we'll talk about that. We will also talk about the future. I think that recent events, including the sort of nastiness that surrounded government shutdowns and so forth and so on, that we keep hearing about in the news, for me anyway, has made me wonder about the future. I think many people are feeling the same. It's so easy with the things that we tend to focus on in the media and throughout. It's so easy to take a rather pessimistic, dim view of our future. You know, where are we going? What's going to happen? Most of our media, and we're going to talk more about this next week for our special Halloween episode. But if you notice, so much of our media, so much of our entertainment media, and this includes not only movies and television series, but also video games that people play, most of them have to do with a sense of apocalyptic dread. Right? I mean, The Walking Dead, the TV series on AMC, which is all about zombies and the zombification of the world. You know, I can't count how many zombie movies have come out recently. And they all have this sort of representation of this world that's collapsing, this world that is falling apart, this world where everyone is sort of on their own and living like survivalists in the woods or the mountains, ready to protect themselves at all costs. This is really a very strong image that I think collectively we have this sort of imagination about this, and it's fascinating. As I said, we'll talk more about that and sort of the genesis of these zombie type characters. But it's not just zombie mania. It's also this sort of fascination we have with things like about a year ago at this time we were talking about the Mayan calendar and that was going to bring about the end of the world, and we are constantly sort of fascinated by our own demise, if you will, and it's very interesting, and it's understandable because we do live in, I believe, a time of amazing transition where things are not what they were and are changing rapidly, and that the pace of change, the rapidity of change, is quickening due to the fact that everything around us is quickening. Technology is speeding things up, if you will. When we live in an era where you can instantly contact someone, when we live in an era where you can instantly find, or almost instantly find, just about any information that you need via the World Wide Web, that tends to speed up the pace of life dramatically. And so we live in an era where there are these very fast changes, and so it seems very tumultuous. But we're going to talk about the future. We're going to talk about what some have predicted for the future, particularly one very optimistic gentleman by the name of James Burke. We'll find out what he has to say about the future. And it's his vision of the future is very exciting, I must say, and optimistic to the point that I've not seen that level of optimism in anybody in the media for quite some time. But we'll talk about that. We'll talk about 0 point field, as I mentioned. But first, now, I wanted to talk about our continuing discussion about guided imagery. Last week, I did a guided imagery script with you, and I'm afraid we ran out of time and I wasn't able to finish it up, but I heard that feedback I've gotten on it has been quite good, so I will try to do more of that in the coming weeks and months, to sort of provide you with some opportunities to experience this sort of technique that can really be helpful in calming you and centering you and keeping you focused. So we will continue to try to do that. Guided imagery happens to be something that even traditional doctors are starting to embrace, and they've noticed that it can actually have a very strong connection between physically your nervous system and your emotional states, that they're all related. And as this becomes more and more understood, mind-body therapies like this are going to only increase. Right now, the medical establishment is focused on the way things have always been focused on, which is the physical body, and sort of isolating injuries, diseases, whatever it is, and not connecting them with the rest of the human. But that is changing more and more, and as it continues to be explored, I think we're going to find some very interesting connections between things like guided imagery, things like yoga and meditation, and how they can heal you. For many people, when you talk about these things, it sounds like snake oil to them. It sounds like it sounds like charlatanism, and it's understood that there have been and continue to be people who take advantage and try to convince you that they are great healers or great spiritual people, and what you can basically understand, and it's very simple, when you're asked to put out, and this is not to say that spiritual leaders and people who are guides and teachers in that realm don't deserve to be compensated for what they do. However, when someone has a very high price tag attached to whatever it is they're doing, whether it is a conference or a workshop or what have you, that, to my mind, causes questions. And as I say, it's not that teachers don't deserve to make some money from what they do. It's just that when you're talking about these issues, and you're dealing with people who are in need of in some way, they're emotionally in need, they are maybe physically in need, health-wise, I find it difficult to accept that you would charge such large fees for your services that would eliminate many people who could benefit from what you're teaching or trying to impart. So those are areas where alarm bells would go off for me when if you're suspicious about things like healing and meditation and all of those things, alarm bells would go off for me. There's so much information out there now. There's so many different ways that you can learn about meditation for, little cost, no cost, that it's kind of silly to, be a person who would try to sell you a program for hundreds of dollars, based on their particular point of view. It does seem kind of silly to me, and again, it's not that these people don't deserve to make money. It's just that I feel like what happens is when you're in the marketplace, it becomes more important to sell your product than to actually teach or help. And when the emphasis is on the profit margin rather than on actually helping people, I think there's the problem. And it's a very similar problem to the healthcare situation we face, where we have a system in place in the country which is based on American capitalism, in which corporations, large corporations, make lots of money off of people's health needs. I feel this should not be the case. Many people feel this should not be the case. In most countries in the world, this is not the case. Because when that is the case, then access to health care becomes limited to those who can afford it. Hence the Affordable Care Act, which is having some problems at the moment, but is a step in that direction for sure. So it's the same kind of model that then many in the holistic field tend to use. So you charge as much as you can charge, because it's all about making the profit. And whoever comes up with the best system that can make the most money and can sell the most products or whatever, quote, wins, unquote, I guess. So as long as there is that structure, as long as there's that model that we're using, you're going to have situations where, and it may not be a charlatan, it may just be somebody who has a system they really believe in and sells it to you, but it doesn't work for you. And it can't work for you because until you get to a point where you understand that all of these things are phases, if you will. They're kinds of ways of sort of getting at the truth, but not quite getting there. That's why many of these things, and I'm talking about systems like what was popular. Well, not too long ago, we had a program of, we've had several of these programs, of these prosperity-minded programs, where if you think and put out to the universe what you want, then it comes to you. And yes, it can, but it sometimes comes in forms that you don't expect. You sometimes don't understand that what you have visioned for yourself isn't exactly what you need, and so you get all kinds of situations that occur that may be worse than when you started out. So anyway, it's a discussion I don't want to get into, and I've already been in too long already, so let's leave that for another day. And now let's talk about the future. So this gentleman I mentioned, his name is James Burke, and James Burke works for the BBC, British Broadcasting Corporation. You use what they call a news presenter there, or what we would call a news reporter in America, and he's a science reporter. And he, in 1973, was asked by the BBC to come up with some predictions for the 21st century. And he was amazingly accurate in his predictions. He foresaw the use of big data and personal information. He said in this era, people will willingly give their personal information, and it will be stored in large areas in which there'll be complete access to it. It'll be a more open and honest society because there will be data about everyone. I'm not sure that's quite happened, but we certainly have seen what happens with big data now. And he also foresaw computer-aided learning systems for students, which is exactly what's going on. I mean, computers in the classroom are everywhere, and now the big push is for mobile devices, tablets in the classroom, and there are apps and education programs proliferating that make fantastic use of the technology, particularly tablets for students. So his predictions on all of these things have proven to be quite on the money, if you will. So it was probably inevitable that the BBC would come up with or ask him to now predict for 2100, which is coming up in, oh my goodness, 80 years or so. I won't be here. Or if I am here, I will be very tired. But in any case, he was asked to predict what the future would be like in about 80 to 100 years from now. And what he foresees, the big thing that he foresees is the rise of what's known as 3D nanofabricators. 3D nanofabricators. Well, what is a nanofabricator? Well, a nanofabricator is basically a machine, a desktop machine, kind of like 3D printers that we have now, where you can make just about anything if you have the right materials. Well, what this would be a very advanced 3D printer, which makes use of molecular material. In other words, you can create an object literally atom by atom, molecule by molecule. You would buy the raw materials that you would need in some form or other. You would be able then, through nanotechnology, and nanotechnology is the technology of manipulating on the atomic level, on the molecular level, and so these nano machines would be able to build or create anything. So, in other words, the future that Mr. Burke sees is a future that allows us to create anything virtually. Wherever we live, we create where we live. We create what we want to experience. If we want to see a beautiful sunny day out of the window of our home that we've just created through our nanofabricator, we can do that. We can experience all kinds of activities, great performances, musicals, dramas. We can create exciting sports materials or conversations with friends, and they'll all be virtual. They'll be 3D virtual. They'd be holograms. And we can create, and he sees us doing that within the next 80 to 100 years. And if you've been listening to what I talk about in the show about our perspective of the world being something we are creating ourselves without really understanding that we're doing that, this is the logical extension of that. The very material of life being consciously manipulated by us, instead of our creating a world and not understanding our ability to be co-creators with the divine mind. This will, in essence, really solidify that kind of perspective. And he certainly sees that, and he's not the only one. This is not something that he's making up out of whole cloth, if you will. These are predictions by scientists who work in these fields, and certainly see that these technologies are rapidly occurring. So through these, Mr. Burke is amazingly upbeat and positive. He believes that within that 100-year time, we'll have eliminated most or all illnesses, and certainly no hunger or poverty, because we'll be able to use our material so well that we can direct to anything that might be an illness and correct it, and that we'll be able to create as much as we need. We won't, through nanotechnology, he believes we will not need to wreck the environment to keep going. So we will be actually focused on preserving the environment, and that one of the great pleasures that we'll have in life is tending to things like gardens and the world around us, the actual physical beauty of the world. And you can see that because if most of your life is spent in sort of a 3D hologram that you're creating, one of the great pleasures that you would have would be stepping outside of that into a beautiful world that is something beyond that. So, fascinating stuff from Mr. James Burke. And we'll talk more about this nanotechnology, this nanofabricator. So I mentioned the 0-point field very quickly. We're going to have to talk more about that next week as well. But the 0-point energy is also called the quantum vacuum 0-point energy, the lowest possible energy that can exist. It's sort of a ground state energy in that it's continuous. It's there everywhere, all around us, and it fits in with the understanding that physicists now have regarding the Higgs field, the electromagnetic field. It is the energy of the vacuum, which in quantum field theory is defined not as empty space, but as ground state of the fields. In other words, it is the state of potentiality that always exists, that you can always pull from. And that, many of us in sort of the mystical or spiritual perspective, believe that this is the energy that we use to create the world around us, or co-create the world around us, that we are not aware that we are doing. So it is a fascinating field. There's several books that you can read about it that we'll talk about later on. One is certainly, well, you can also go to the website of a scientist who's very involved in it, a gentleman by the name of Hal Puthoff, Putof. He really is sort of the grandfather of this whole era. And you can also read a book by Lynn McTaggart, Lynn, Lynne, McTaggart, McTaggart. The book is called The Field, put out by HarperCollins, and she discusses the work of Mr. Puthoff and many others who have brought us greater understanding of the 0-point field. It's still something that's quite debated in scientific circles and not fully accepted at all, but it's getting there. So fascinating stuff. Go look for that book in the library, McTaggart, The Field, and we'll talk more about it next week. Until then, have a wonderful wonderful experience in the world.